What's a bar to do when you launched a couple of years ago? You feel like you got a handle on running the place, but then the world turns upside down. Innovate and hold on for the ride if you can. To talk about how to do that, our guest on Your Daily Detroit is Kevin Peterson from Castalia Cocktails. That's a basement bar in a historic building that shares a space with a fragrance shop, Sfumato, in Midtown Detroit. I'm Jared Stays, and it's April 28, 2020. Joining me on the conversation will be cocktail connoisseur and engineer, Randy Walker. But first, a quick thanks to our members who make this show possible. We got some great feedback from you members on a poll at patreon.com/dailydetroit. Your support is crucial to making sure we keep pushing Detroit's conversation forward, and thank you. Welcome back to Daily Detroit, sir.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to talk to you because there is so much change that's coming. It's already here, of course, with the shelter-in-place order, but the world is going to look a little bit different, at least for a while, and especially for places like yours that are bars. And I thought it'd be interesting to talk a little bit about like reimagining what a bar is today, and then maybe even reimagining what it is in the future, at least for a while, with these social distancing protocols, with different, and I hate to use the term new normal, but there was a poll out today that showed that 80% of people back the stay-at-home order, and they would be very hesitant to go straight back to places, even if we just opened the doors today. So, Kevin, I think first off, what are some of the things that you've been doing? I know that you got some attention in the New York Times recently.
Yeah. Thank you. That was a big deal. Yeah, so we had to close our doors last month. Our business is was essentially designed as a place for, friends and strangers to meet in fairly close quarters and enjoy conversations. And that is not an allowed activity right now. So it kind of forced us to take a step back and say, well, what is it that we're trying to do? I mean, on one level, okay, we're trying to get delicious cocktails in people's hands. And that led to the creation of these frozen juice mixers, just little cocktail cubes. So everything that you need, the citrus, the syrup, the flavors, the tinctures, the amount of dilution that you need to chill and, bring the cocktail to the right ratios, all frozen into a little 2-ounce cup. So you just plop that in your shaker and your glass, add 2 ounces of spirit to it, and then you're ready to go with a craft cocktail. So, just trying to figure out, okay, how can we get delicious drinks to people at home if we're not the ones shaking, stirring, juicing, doing all this?
Well, and currently in Michigan, the rule is that you can't do to-go drinks. In other states, that's kind of been opened up. That's one of the things we actually had Robin Cleveland on the show to talk about. How does that impact your business, that you can't, say, make a limit of 2 fully made drinks out the door and you need to do these kits? Does that change your margins? It's been kind of creative how you've navigated through this.
Yeah, and that's a discussion we've had is, how would we bring the experience home if we were allowed to serve alcohol? That's been, frankly, a challenge to keep up on what is the legislation right now. What is it going to be in a week? How do we stay on top of what the new laws are and, stay current with what people want when it's changing every week or couple of weeks? Yeah, I mean, if we could sell alcohol, ticket prices would be much higher. I do think it would open up a lot of opportunity for bars to keep some revenue coming in during this time. And, we managed to do that with the cubes. A lot of people have not made that shift or a similar shift to something that's online and to go. So, yeah, I definitely support Robin's efforts and signed that petition when that came out.
Well, when you look at what your bar is, and it's a cute little place with a basement bar, all of those kind of things. What do you think it might look like in the future, at least for a while, with these sorts of restrictions and social norms?
I think one of the big trends that we're sort of anticipating and hoping to maneuver around is people probably aren't going to want to be around people they don't know as much. So can we reimagine ourselves as a little bit more of an intimate space to be reserved? Can we sort of, if we can only have half as many people, can we bump up the ticket price so that our revenues don't get destroyed? So can we offer a more special seated experience, sort of a flight of cocktails around a theme? or can we actually have a cocktail catering license so we can bring drinks to people's homes and serve them there? Are they going to prefer to stay? I don't know. I guess we've all probably had enough time for a minute here, but eventually are people going to be more comfortable in their homes having one person visit them rather than going out on the town, interacting with who knows how many people? So yeah, just reimagining sort of maybe a more in-depth experience for smaller numbers of people.
Well, to me, that sounds interesting because, like, I have a bonfire pit at my house, outside, not inside. And what would be really interesting to someone like me who would say, let's say we had a thing where you could have gatherings of 10 people in the future. Well, what if one of those people is someone like yourself and they're coming and doing some sort of bar experience where there's kind of like a private party and everybody knows who each other is and you can trace people, those kind of things. That seems really interesting to me as an option.
Yeah, and I think, some of the things that we've always pushed at Castalia are, what are the ideas behind the drinks? What are the stories behind some of the spirits or some of the products that we're using? And frankly, we're a little bit limited when you can only really assume a person is getting one drink. If I can design a 2-hour seating, a series of 5 half-size or third-size drinks, I'm not trying to put you on the floor here, but I want you to try a bunch of different things. I want to, sort of build this whole narrative around the drinks or the spirits or whatever. I think it actually opens up some opportunities. So, yeah, I wouldn't say I was thrilled to hear that, my bar had to close and that the future may look entirely different from what it had all been built around. But at the same time, it is an opportunity to try some new ideas, to sort of bring some ideas off the back burner that probably would have never gotten attention had it not been for this. One thing that we've noticed doing the cubes is that everybody's sheltered in place. Everybody's enjoying the comfort of their own home right now. But one thing that we're seeing is folks that we only see at the bar maybe a few times a year, but they've already gotten a couple orders of cubes. So people that maybe have a couple kids or jobs that they wake up early for, or some other reason why they're not coming out to the bar, but they still like the idea, like the cocktails. And, it's basically kind of opening up this new audience to us that I don't want to lose that audience when the shelter in place order gets lifted. Sort of an interesting opportunity and new way of thinking about what we're doing.
So I got to say, this cocktail cubes idea is a great extension or a great twist on what you've been doing. How did you come up with the idea of the cocktail cube?
Yeah, it's an idea I've been kicking around for a while that just, our bar is small. We seat 16 people. I mean, frankly, it creates a wonderful vibe. We can provide great service for everyone in the bar, but, it also limits the number of guests that we can see in a night or in a week. And I was thinking, okay, how can we, bring what we're doing to a larger audience? And I'd always thought, okay, we'll find a production partner and we'll scale this up and it'll be kind of a huge side business and maybe we'll ship throughout the country or something. But I just never had the time to do this because I was running a bar. And all of a sudden I wasn't running a bar and I had many more stressful things to think about, but also many more hours in the week to just be like, okay, kind of the heart of the cubes is ease of use, taking away some of the prep duties from the customer and just making it all like as easy to go and as foolproof as possible. So I would say they actually turned out better than I expected. Every week, we put the flavors together and I'm like, holy crap, this is actually pretty damn good for an at-home mixer. So very pleased with how they turned out.
I like this idea. I make cocktails at home, but I don't do it a lot because, like you said, it takes a lot of effort for one drink.
Well, and even as a bartender, I tend to drink neat spirits and beer at home because, well, for one, I probably just made cocktails for like 8 hours in a row. But yeah, I'm like, oh, I'm going to bring some home too. This makes life easy.
So what are some of the logistical challenges you have? I noticed that you are only doing this one day a week.
For one thing, it's freezer space. The bar certainly wasn't envisioned as like a production juice cube factory. So we can produce about 50 sets a week. And frankly, that's a decent chunk of time, and that's what our freezers can hold. So that's what we're doing for now. Yeah, could this scale up at some point? Maybe we We might still take on a production partner at some point down the road, but for now, we've been reluctant to invest too much in any new business model, just given how quickly things are changing. So, yeah, this is a good level for now. And but talk to me next week. I might say something totally different.
So, what is your inspiration for the flavors of cocktail cubes that you come up with? I notice you have a lot of botanicals.
Yeah, we've always kept a pretty big library of tinctures in the back room. So we do a new menu every season. So we're always basically playing with new drinks. And the cubes, some of the initial feedback we got from customers was, hey, we ordered the set last week. Can we have something new this week? And it was just kind of like, you know what? We have all these drink ideas kicking around. Let's just do new flavors every week and sort of work through that botanical library. And I've got sort of some systems, some algorithms for developing drinks and various ideas of sort of molecular pairings and what are the harmonies between spirits and botanicals. And it's been fun to just sort of iterate quickly through a bunch of different ideas.
So if you're going to do this on a regular basis and say that like this is going to be a way that you're going to get cocktails at home, what would be the spirits that you would say someone should keep on hand? Because this is exactly what I'm thinking about. When we were deciding these cubes, a lot of people, maybe they got caught a little bit flat-footed. Maybe they don't know what to do. What are some of the spirits to keep on hand that's like, you know what? Every week you're going to be good if you've got X, Y, and Z in the cabinet.
Yeah, good point. So one idea in the cocktail world is called Mr. Potato Heading. And that idea is that basically as long as you keep an ingredient in the same category, you can swap things in or out and your cocktail is still going to be relatively decent. Meaning like, okay, I make my Manhattan with rye and vermouth, but if I substitute that rye for rum or for scotch or for some other spirit, it's still going to be a fairly balanced cocktail and the flavor is going to change a little bit, but it's still going to be pretty tasty. And so originally we were saying, okay, well, we want to create flavors that can really go with a range of spirits, but people kept saying, just tell us what to put in it. We don't want to think that hard. Basically I would recommend a clear botanical spirit, a gin or an aquavit. Northern aquavit produced over in Eastern Market is probably one of my favorite botanical spirits. Something brown, a rum, whiskey, a bourbon. Old Forester is one of my go-tos. It's a little more price conscious. I really like the Detroit City Butcher's Cut bourbon. So like a gin, a vodka, a rum, and something in the whiskey family, and you're probably good to go.
Anything we can look forward to as far as flavors or recipes you're coming up with?
I've been looking at, can I make a bacon old-fashioned? So like a bacon maple syrup, brown sugar old-fashioned. Bacon's kind of a dangerous flavor, but I also feel like maybe people's thoughts around bacon have loosened a little bit. I feel like everybody's eating a little more bacon these days.
Well, a lot of people are going to be interested in it is because I was reading something yesterday that there's actually been like there may be a shortage of pork products. You might even have people jonesing for that bacon flavor even more because you've had so many of the shutdowns with pork production.
True. Wasn't even considering that. Yeah, good point.
So in addition to selling the cocktail cubes, you're also offering webinars weekly to show people how to use them. I think that's a great idea. How did you decide to do that? How are those working out?
So we do the cube pickup from noon to 4 on Saturday, and then at 5 o'clock we do a webinar where we show people how to use the cubes. And frankly, if we were just showing people how to use the cubes, it'd be like 2 minutes because literally you just plop the cube in, add the spirit, shake until everything melts, good to go. So this did tie back to, kind of this broader idea of, okay, what do we want Castalia to be? What is its mission? And beyond just putting drinks in front of people, a big thing for me has always been, what is the science behind the cocktail? Not only how do you make it, but how do your taste buds work? How do your olfactory receptors work? How does your brain take in all this information and sort of produce the mental image of a flavor? So in that sense, it's been a chance to try out some different formats and, how do we get information to people if we can't have them in the bar? So I would say a lot of the content of the webinars is similar to discussions I've had with patrons at the bar, many times over the years. And now we're just kind of condensing it, refining it, and saying, okay, can we still be a source for that knowledge, even if that transfer isn't happening in person?
When we last chatted in person, Kevin, one of the things that struck me is that you felt like you were in a pretty decent place as far as operations. And it's sadly that this has all happened like, a few weeks after that. How are you doing as a business owner mentally? How are things doing in your life? Because I know that you've got Sfumato fragrances. There's various things that are going on. How are you doing upstairs? How does this feel for you?
I certainly have moments of despair, but for the most part, doing pretty well. It's it's sort of a daily battle. I definitely do better with things on my plate than sort of sitting and thinking. So in that way, being forced to reimagine what is the business, what are these cubes going to be, and actually spending a lot of hours each week sort of in this Zen mode of just juicing all the cubes, creating all the syrups, creating all these cubes is actually pretty helpful rather than just sort of having unstructured hours at home to sit and think. But yeah, I definitely look back on a couple conversations I had earlier this year where I said things like, business is kind of 2 years in. It's making sense. I think everything's coming together here. And I'm like, why did I say that? I think overall, definitely no shortage of challenges, but at the same time, small business ownership has always been a challenge. So, in that sense, it's almost kind of familiar to have huge challenges in front of me.
Good to hear. So one last question. How can people get their own cocktail cubes?
So we do new flavors every week. You can pre-order the cubes on our website. So that is CastaliaCocktails.com, CASTALIA cocktails.com. And then there's a link for cocktail kits. And then we do the pickup in person every Saturday from noon to 4. So we do the contactless pickup. We'll set it on the table for you outside of our entrance. You can come grab it. Simple as that. 15 cubes for $30.
And we're done for today. Thanks so much for listening to Your Daily Detroit. For Randy Walker, I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other, and we'll get through this together. Talk with you tomorrow.